To the web. Thank you. Welcome everybody to the web users group for today. My name is Adam Hillsmeyer. He, him are my pronouns. For folks with low, no, or limited vision, or just don't have their screen on right now or doing audio only, I'm a male. I'm in my home office. Behind me, you'll probably see like a wood door, maybe a plant, and I will pass the mic to Teresa to introduce herself.
I'm not muted. Yeah, I'm Teresa Silva. I'm the web service manager for the campus, and I am a female, and I'm sitting in my home office as well with white walls and a couple pictures. Rob.
I am Rob Knight from University Relations. I work in the communications and marketing group. I manage the web team that maintains the main campus website and several other sites. I'm a male in my home office, and I've got odd closet doors behind me and a blue painting on the wall to my left.
Awesome, thanks. You should be able to see the agenda in front of you. We're going to start off with a quick question right off the top. Talk a little bit about our websites and why we improve them, some timelines, because I think that's some of the questions that lots of folks have had. We're going to do an interactive design exercise. Talk a little bit about training that's going to be available for you very soon. Buttons or components on your WordPress websites. We'll talk about that a little bit, and then we'll go into a Q&A session where we can field questions and take really any questions. Then we'll wrap it up with a thanks and talk about what's coming up next time. A little bit of housekeeping for today. Auto captions are available. And all you need to do, I should note that they don't replace the need for real-time translations. To turn them on, you can just select CC Live Transcript. That's a button in the menu at the bottom of your Zoom screen. If you do experience any type of accessibility barrier during our presentation, please do reach out to myself, Teresa, or Rob, and we will try and help the best we can. You probably heard the note, this meeting is also being recorded too. We do have a set of ground rules for how we'll participate today and in future sessions. We benefit as a campus community from grounding our gatherings from the UCSE principles of community. We're committed to promoting and protecting an environment that values and supports every person. We are open, diverse, just, caring, purposeful, disciplined, and celebrative. And we'll post those principles of community there too. And one more note before we get going, we are of course in a digital space right now, but our university is not. And I think it's appropriate that we acknowledge the land that we're on. The land on which we gather is the unceded territory of the Wuzwaz speaking Yupi tribe, the Amamutsan tribal band, comprised of the descendants of the indigenous people taken to the missions of Santa Cruz and San Juan Bautista during the Spanish colonization and Central Coast, is today working hard to restore traditional stewardship practices on these lands and heal from historical trauma. I would personally note that we acknowledge the land we're on not as a solution, but rather as a first step that calls on each of us to deeply consider the indigenous peoples of this place and make our own personal and institutional commitments to achieve a shared future. Okay, let's do a quick question for you folks to start things off at the top. I'm going to share a link in chat. And what you can do is head to that link. It's a Mentimeter poll. You can either click on the link or hit menti.com and enter the code which we provided in chat, which you should also be able to see on the screen. And you should get a response. Just a quick little note, how folks doing today? Good. Stressed out, sorry, groggy. Is coffee working? Jazzed, I like that. I'll need a definition of blurped, but maybe later. Fuzzy mind. Oh. Okay, great responses. We'll try not to make it too heavy today because I'm feeling some weight from some of those responses of folks. I'm going to follow up with a second question. I'm going to advance this slide, and you'll probably note on the screen that you popped up, it says you can advance to the next question. Quick ratings of these things. You can use the slider on it and take a moment here to think about these 5 ratings that we'll ask you. What we're going to do with these is measure how things are right now. And then at some point, we might survey you again on these things, hopefully down the road, to see if the web improvements that we're going to talk about today are actually helping. And please be honest, we're not tracking who is ranking or making any decisions in this one. Good, got about 20 responses in now. We'll give it another 30 seconds here for you to process if you need to any of these.
And Adam, these responses are anonymous, right? We're not going to track it back to anyone. So don't worry, be honest.
Yeah, that's absolutely correct. What we're really doing is trying to gather a baseline to see where we're all at right now. And it can help us actually focus on places that we can assist you further down the road. I will note as you're taking this, we're going to follow up today's session with a little more in-depth survey of some more questions like these, but we'll give you that information once we get there. Okay, I think we're leveling out here. And you can also leave the responses. I'll leave this page up for folks. And you can always come back to it too with that same link. Okay, so our first topic today is kind of a why. I think I said this before, even last time at our web users group. You know how great our university is, and wouldn't it be great if the rest of the world knew this too? I think our web presence is one of the important ways that we show others how great we are. And in some ways, you could argue that your web presence might be one of the most important ways that we do that. So if you bear with me, I'm going to tell you a quick story that I'm going to hope will connect with you. Think of a student at the beginning of the quarter filled with hope and adventure, but they realize at 5:01 p.m. on Friday, before registering for classes next week, that they have a hold on their account. And that is going to prevent registration. It's after working and help desk hours, so they're not going to have anybody official to contact, which means they're going to have to wait till Monday to figure that out. They hop online, search for a page to find something official looking to hopefully get an answer to a question they have. And then they find a second, less official page that might describe what the hold is that they're looking at with a little different information, but not too sure which one to trust. I'm not sure which one is the right one. Then think about a prospective student, maybe with a mobility disability, who's looking for an answer about how physically accessible their classroom is. And maybe also looking for activities that they might attend this quarter. They go to a UCSC website that they used in the past, but they can't seem to find that same information they were looking for again. Then they Google it and they find some information on a couple different websites, but they're not exactly sure if they're UCSC events because it's not clear. They look a little different from other content that they found, and maybe some of the links are broken on the page. So these were experiential stories, experiences that students might have. But when it comes to something that might be even more critical, like picking what school somebody might attend, the websites are important things. RNL is a marketing agency, and they put out this report, maybe you're familiar with. It's called an E-Expectations report of high school students. This is data from their last one from 2021. And as you can see, number one, the first place that students get some type of influence in their search of where they're looking, it's a college website. the first place they go when they're choosing what college to take. It's the digital content about the program that they want to engage with. The way that they do that, they Google it. And maybe from your analytics, you know that too, that organic search is probably one of the top ways that people are coming to your websites. And the number at the bottom is a Nielsen Norman Group report that says 48% of students didn't even realize that a program was offered simply because they couldn't find the thing online. I think there's some impact there. There's some important things that we can learn from this information. Here's another story. Think about the incredible research and discoveries that happen at UCSC. I think the genome work probably is in the zeitgeist right now, but maybe there's some other work that's a collaboration with peers, something that will capture the public's attention, really get the interest of students who want that immersion research experience. Maybe it's even alumni that see it as a pride point, something that would really be a differentiator for us, something we really love to talk about. But then when they hear about that, they go to Google it and they can't seem to find our well-crafted and brilliant story on the topic. And we have a lot of those examples. Or what if they find something, but it just looks dated? It looks similar, but it's not quite right. Or they land on one UCSC website that looks like it might be the right place, but then they experience some doubt and they go to another page and it feels like, oh, wait a minute, I'm not in the UCSC universe anymore. And they just leave and move on to the next thing. There's risk in that space, but there's also opportunity. So what if our websites inspired excitement and pride in the university that we had? What if they welcomed people, supported prospective students, current students, faculty and staff, and the things that they need to do? And what if our websites just delivered top to bottom, front to end, making sure things are easy to use, easy to find, and easy to navigate through? Our websites, as we saw, are often the first point of contact with UCSC, and it's also the place where we have complete control over how we present ourselves and how we deliver on our promises. And because of that, it's a very powerful tool in the way that we can tell our stories. And that to me says opportunity for us all. It's a chance to inspire, support, and deliver. Now we have some shared goals here at the university. These come straight from the chancellor: advancing student success, increasing our research profile, making things inclusive, embracing diversity and equity, improving efficiency. I would say the outcomes that we're going to talk about with our websites, and as we continue down this journey with our websites, they can be mapped back to each of these shared goals. If there was one thing that I really want you to take away from the idea of your websites, it's that the work ahead, as we move into WordPress, the environment, it's part of a process. It's not a project. You shouldn't think of your website as a thing that you're going to do for a little bit and set it aside. There's a great quote from Inside Higher Education, which is also where this quote is from, that says, "Great design and cool technology alone do not make a higher ed website great. They make it work, but they don't necessarily make it great." They say the primary role of an institution's website is to inform, engage, and ultimately convert visitors. So they're participating in your websites or maybe doing something that you want them to do. And that's why we're going to talk about design, storytelling, user experience, and the technology parts of it. They're there to generate an emotional response and help people stay engaged with your websites. We put ourselves at an unnecessary disadvantage when we limit the vision about how powerful a tool our web experiences can be. And that's why I think the work ahead, it's a collaborative and ongoing process that requires maybe some changes in the way that we think about how we tell our stories to the world. So what are those, what's the change that we're actually talking about? What we're hoping with this program, this web improvement program that we've been talking about, with improved services, with a new WordPress theme, that we're going to get from where we are to a new space. And I think where we are right now is that we have websites that include everything, anything that we're publishing out. They sometimes reflect our organizational structure. They reflect what we need out of them, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but they are sometimes hard to maintain. There's a big focus on the tools that we use to drive our websites. But what if What if we got to a space where our websites were treated more of a process, where they're designed for specific audiences, tailored to who's going to use them. They reflect what our users need from them, so they find value in it. They reflect our goals. They're a little easier to maintain, and the effort is more on storytelling. The way we hope to do that is this. We maybe touched on this last time. 4 components that we think are important: content strategy, training and tools to help you get expertise you need to build and maintain effective websites, design standards. That's something that Rob has been helping work on right now. That's tools and documentation so you can create branded websites and applications. That includes the WordPress theme, the web platform and tools component that's together. Help you maintain secure, flexible, stable, easy to use websites. Robust training and support will be part of that. And I think one of the key parts here is we can provide all these things, but if we don't work together to see ourselves as part of a whole university that has a purpose, I think we put ourselves at a disadvantage. So I think if we can think about how we can focus less on the tools that deliver our web presence and more on communicating our great stories, we're going to set ourselves up for big success. For folks who aren't too familiar with this, this is a design model called the design squiggle. It means a couple different things to a couple different people, and you can describe it different ways. But in general, it usually means that it's hard at the beginning to figure out what we're going to do. But as we work together to make the path forward a little clearer, we start to align and eventually get to a point where we're all on the same path and we're making great decisions together. Let's talk about timelines and communication components here. Of course, the web users group is a communications component, but I think some of the some of the big questions that folks have had was, when are things going to happen for us? When can we actually do things? Here's a high level view of what's been going on behind the scenes and when we think things will happen. There is a group of pilot partners who we think are going to adopt to the new WordPress website service. We're going to get them in there pretty quick, actually. I'd say within a week or two. It doesn't mean you'll get access to the websites right away. You're going to make a request to hop into that space. And we'll go deeper into what that thing means right now. But we're figuring right around summer-ish, we're going to allow everybody into the new WordPress theme. And we believe that this theme is a tool that most of campus can use that will actually help them achieve some of those exact goals that we just kind of ran down. And there'll be a point where you request in there, and then you'll actually get access to the site. And then way down the road, we're estimating summer 2024, the Cascade web service is going to get retired. So there is a deadline out there of folks who are currently in Cascade to move in. But you have some time to do that. And we want to make sure that that's clear, that there is some time to get there. Here's a little clearer picture of what actually happens when I do request a new website, because we feel that this path right here is going to help us get to that space where we all are creating sustainable, effective, and quality websites. You're going to be able to request a site in the new Slug Hub service coming up soon. Right after that, we're going to have some required training, which will look like accessibility training, some basics on WordPress if you're not familiar with it, and how to set website goals. It's great if you know these things. It's always good to refresh your skills on them. And that's why we're going to make those required to get in there. Then eventually we're going to talk about, for the pilot partners, we're going to have one-on-one scheduled orientations. So we're going to sit down and actually kind of walk through some of the components of what you can do with your WordPress site. I don't think it's fair just to turn you loose in there because you're going to end up having questions, and we agree. So we're going to do like a session where we can, directly answer what are your important questions that you want to ask right away, and hopefully guide you and get you set up so you're running, you're off and running. Then you'll get access to your new website, and then we're going to talk about content strategy work. Just saw a note in the chat. How many pilot units are there? We're keeping it limited for this moment. And Teresa or Rob, feel free to hop in if you want to talk about this part too. The reason we're going to keep the pilot partners limited is because we're still in test. We're going to test this out. There's going to be things that the pilot partners are going to have to help us with in learning this new environment, because this is all new to many of us. We're going to have a way that pilot partners can provide feedback. And we also need to make it clear to pilot partners that part of your role is going to be helping us design something better. So when we do allow everybody in there, things are going to run a little smoother. Teresa, Rob, did you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, there are approximately 7 websites that are going to be our pilot partners, and they're kind of a cross representation of various types of sites. So research site, academic division, academic department, administrative, homepage, and so forth. So we're going to kind of get a cross representation to see how it works and kind of like iron out all the rough edges of this new service we're rolling out. So
yeah, right on. When will it start? So there's been a lot of work behind the scenes. We got to set up training for you. We got to get an intake that works. And we want to make sure that when you do get access in there, that things are going to work right away. So we're, figuring out all this, the consultation piece, how we're going to manage those things. We don't have a hard deadline right now because we're still, flexing on some of the work we're doing. But I would say within a month is a long deadline. I would say within a couple weeks, less than 2 maybe, could be a better answer.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't want to give you a specific right now, Dan or Tony, but it's going to be soon. It's going to be soon here that you'll be able to get in and start playing around.
And we're doing some last minute refinement on the theme side too. We want to make sure that when pilot partners get in there, that they can be productive and be building and not have to make changes midstream or something like that. So the idea is when everyone gets in there, they're productive right away with our guidance. And so that's what we're working on right now, just focused on getting everything buttoned up so that it's a productive environment when the pilot partners get in there.
Yeah, right on. Thanks, Rob. So getting access to your website is another component here. And then there's all this kind of content strategy work that we're recommending. We're going to have additional training, different spaces where you can reach out and contact us to help build your skills with it. That includes live training sessions, including, what is content strategy? How do I know what content goes where on my website? How do I audit my content? What is an audit? And how can that support me in my, future endeavors? And you'll be able to register for those sessions actually starting right now. We do have those sessions live, and we'll provide the link to it, but you can go to websites.ucse.edu and we have a training link where you can now sign up for an hour-long session where we're going to go through some of these very topics. We're also going to have those required training components in UC Learning Center, and that will be one of the sources that we can refer to people, so you can
Nope, Adam, we lost you.
Uh-oh.
So
we lost you there for a couple minutes, Adam.
Thank you. Yeah. Oh, you did. Are we?
It looks like your internet connection is unstable. Maybe turn off your video and try. I'm not sure. You're frozen.
Are we back?
We can hear you.
Did we pick up any better there?
We can hear you, but your video is frozen.
You can hear. Okay, as long as you can hear, that's okay. I think that's okay. So you're going to look at my funny face for a little bit if it's frozen there, and I apologize.
Oh. Teresa, you're in charge.
Yep, T, I think, hopefully I hop back on here. Is
Okay,
this
there
still
you
You're
are.
back.
We
Okay,
okay,
You
better.
lost your screen share, so I wasn't sure.
Yeah.
yep. Sorry, I disappeared into the ether there. So technical difficulties. Thank you for
It's not a
staying on
complete
board
Zoom
here.
meeting without some sort of technical difficulty. So
Of course. I'm just going to turn off my video just in case, because I'm not sure exactly what happened there. But hopefully, can this still share screen? Are you still getting that?
yeah, we
Yeah,
can
yeah.
see your screen.
Okay, great. So content strategy work, ways to support yourself. Teresa, I was pitching it to you to talk about open labs and what the experience will be there.
Now. Okay, I didn't hear the pitch.
Yeah.
Got it in hand. Okay. Yeah, we are reviving, for some of those of you who've been around a while, we used to have kind of in-person training and in-person open labs. There was something going on every week, and we're reviving that. So we're going to be, and we have been scheduling a weekly open lab session for folks to sign up, and they'll be co-facilitated. So someone from ITS will be there, and so it might be like me and Adam, or Rob and Adam, or me and or colleagues or designated people to be there, so that you can hop into the Zoom and ask specific questions about things that you need help with. And we're going to iron out kind of how to do open labs via Zoom. It's a new thing, but we're going to do it anyway. So the schedule is on the training page of the site, and you can sign up for those, and we'll work with you. And if it's, I imagine it's going to be something, if you have something that's very detailed, specific, that you need one-on-one help with, that maybe we kind of start a little breakout room where we can help you with things, or we schedule something as a follow-up later. But we want you to attend these open labs once you start building your site, and even if before, if you're working on some of the prep and planning for your site, and even if you're not in your WordPress site yet, but you are prepping, you can come to a lab and ask, Adam or myself or whatever, on whoever's there to help you with planning out your site. So it'll be fun. I have always enjoyed these open labs, and they're personal for you to get help. So you can sign up for them. I believe the open labs, because we're actually facilitating them, we are limiting the number of people that come to those labs, so it doesn't get a little crazy. So so you can sign up for one, you can sign up for multiple if you want to, and I think it's a really good hands-on way to get help.
Awesome. Yes, Ella, you should be able to go to that same link, websites.ucsc.edu, and select training, which will get you to open labs or any of the individual training sessions you could take. Any questions at this point? Feel free to drop them in chat. And we could talk about some of the communications. Again, we expect to be communicating with pilot partners within the next couple of weeks here. Part of that communication is helping them understand their role, that they're going to act as testers for the environment, giving us feedback. So again, when we bring everybody in during summertime, that things will be pretty smooth. I'm not seeing any questions populate right now. So maybe we'll move on to the next slide. And that is also something you can do right now. Little design exercise. I'm going to share one more link here. And it is to a mural board. Oh, Tony's asking, will there be clip art type resources? The UCSC specific ones are pretty, but not what we need. We have been in discussions about a icon library that folks can access, but there are some, and that's not ready yet, but that's one of the thoughts that we're having, because they can really, icons can help you build something nicer. There are current assets, and Rob, maybe you want to hop in your photo library is what I'm thinking, plus.
Yeah, there is the UCSC photo library. As far as clip art and icons, it's evolving, but I will tentatively say yes, there will be icons available. It is evolving though. That's all I can really say at the moment, but yes, that's on our radar for sure. And I believe it will be in there.
Awesome, thanks.
And Adam, there was another question. It says, what's the best way to prep for migration? Great.
Yeah,
segue.
great question, Sandra. Prepping for migration involves some of those very topics that we were just kind of looking at. I'd say setting goals, figure out what your goals are one of the first things you can do. If you don't know how to do that, that's actually the design exercise we're going to start in just a second here. Think about what your strategy is for your site. And sometimes that strategy involves narrowing down the right content and showing really the important things that you have on your site. Sometimes that strategy involves divvying up, and we've heard, a lot of folks have said, the differences between public facing versus intranet content, that's a strategic point that you can start thinking about. We're actually going to have a training session to help you understand, if you're not too familiar, like what are the things that should be on my public facing website? What are the things that better served in an intranet or maybe in a KB documentation type? That's a conversation. I think auditing is one of the things that you want to do ahead of time. You want to know how much content you have before you move it. It's kind of like taking inventory of your house. If you're going to move, you want to know how much stuff you actually have to move before you do it, so you're not surprised on moving day. So auditing is one of the key tools, I think, that will help you in your migration process. But I wouldn't limit the thought to saying this is just I'm picking up from the old and parking it in the new. I really want you to think deeper about content and what you have and how you can produce the best website so we meet some of those goals, so we achieve some of those ideas that we were talking about just earlier in the conversation today. That said, Sandra, there's several different ways there. And why don't we go into our quick design exercise, which is about setting goals for your website. I threw a link in chat, which goes to a mural board, which looks like this. And it looks like a lot of people have joined in here. And this is an exercise that you can, 1, do on your own, 2, facilitate with your stakeholders and folks who have some investment in your website. It's called a heart framework. Google created this. I didn't. I'm just borrowing the idea. And it's a way to observe what you want to happen from your website based on a couple different factors. Those factors will be the acronym of HEART. And that acronym is happiness, engagement, adoption, retention, and task success. So if you look at those different angles of your website and ask yourself or ask your stakeholders in a facilitated session like we're going to do right now, how could I address those questions and how can I turn those things into goals for my website? So this is going to be the design exercise we'll do. We'll just focus on the happiness part, which is the yellow card. And what I want you to do is grab one of these tabs, and I'll create more if we run out of them. But on them, write your answer to the question. What would happiness look like for your website? Happiness is sometimes also known as satisfaction. Do your websites actually make you happy? I don't know. There's a thing in UX where they say your website should bring you delight. And sure, delightful is a great way to describe it. But what if it's just like happy is able to do the thing that I want to do? So here, let me create some more cards here so we don't run out. So the question to you is, what does happiness look like? And you'll do just what you're doing here. You grab one of those cards, drag it down to this main field, and drop that in there. And why don't we do that right now? It's okay if you want to grab the other colors and drop them. We'll work on the happy question for the moment and see what everyone generates. We'll spend about 60 seconds doing the answer to this question. What does happiness look like on my website? If you are encountering an accessibility barrier or this thing's just not working for you, drop your response in chat and I'll post that in there for you, or one of us will. Yes, Stephanie, I did do this exercise with another group, but hey, it's good to really nail it down. So apologies if this is duplicative for you. Gotcha. Laura suggests. You can Control Z the thing, Laura, if you deleted it on accident, rather. And Tia, Rob, feel free to grab any of these in chat too if you got them. Marie suggests feeling empowered. It's a great one.
Shantae, did the link not work to the mural board, or did you get a?
Yep. Yeah. Shantae, that's exactly right. I mean, this is a great collaborative exercise too, where many people can co-create ideas together. Another thing you'll see there's voting on here. It also democratizes the process where many people can say, this is, we got a lot of ideas here. Which ones are the most important ones? By using that voting process, which we won't do right now, but we'll go deeper into how you vote and why you vote in the actual training session that would be held on this thing. But it gives everybody an equal voice, and it drowns out the loud voices. I don't know if that's a nice way to say it or not, but it gives everybody an equal stance in there. So great. We have a great list of things here. Clarity and connection. I'm just going to read out some of them. Easy to navigate, streamlined, informative, intuitive, easy navigation. Awesome list. This is exactly what you would hope to achieve here. And here's the next step of what happens with that. And I'm going to navigate away from the mural, although you are still welcome to hop back in there. Oh yeah, Andrea, this won't work on mobile very well. It is a desktop only device, so I apologize for that. And if it's not working on an iPad either, yeah, circle back, Murray, we can always fill in, but this is just like the exercise portion of it. And we'll continue on right here. So when we just did that exercise, we should end up with something that looks like this, a big old list of a bunch of things that we created. And this is not the one that we just did. This is a previous example of happiness. And you'll probably see some of the very same ideas, because happiness tends to be something very, we come up with similar ideas as to what those things are: clear, easy, navigable. I can see things. Maybe it's visually appealing. Yeah, those are all great things. What you do with that list is then you group some of those things together. What are the groups that people were talking about? And in this example, there was a lot of usability things. It should be easy to use. It should be clear. Which was not ours that we just did in that mural exercise, but there's values and cred. And I think we did actually have some about, our values and credibility as a university. And then there might be some things like about trust and how well I can trust the content that's in front of me. That's great. This exercise right here is also known as affinity diagramming. It's where you're grouping similar ideas together. Then what you do next is you synthesize that feedback, and you're trying to shrink it all down into one document. And the document might end up looking something like this. And in our training session, I'll give you blank examples of this. So if there was a website and we had that happiness measure, can we condense all those ideas down into just one core statement? And for this website, it was users have an easy to use website that connects them to the technology and services, help and training when they need it. So there's a time-based thing. And you do this for each of the different levels of the HEART framework. And we'll talk about deeper about how you do those things. And you end up with these easy statements. It's a goal. It's a clear goal of what I want to do. And then you start asking yourself, how would I know that that goal was actually happening? And we'd call that a signal. It's based on your goals. How are you achieving it? How would that goal manifest itself in the real world? And then you just try to note those things. So a signal of happiness might be that somebody would report to me that they're happy with the site or that it's easy to use. And that begs the next question. Okay, let's actually get a metric. And how would we measure that thing? Well, how would I measure the signal of somebody reporting to me? I'd need to survey them. We just did a survey earlier today. It's always great to think, it's always great to think about what the metrics are you want to measure so you know you're achieving your goals. This is an example for a service-focused website. So it has a lot of things such as tasks that connect people to services. If you are a student-facing website or your focus is students, they might come up with slightly different versions of these things, but the important part is they're unique to what you need your website to do for you. And now, the next thing that you have here is you're gonna assess how much your website is matching your goals. You have yourself an artifact here. That document, you put your goals down that you hope to achieve, and now you're hoping to measure those things with your website. So you've got this like source document that you can take along your journey, along your migration, and it can kind of act as a filter with your future website content to say, how does this new thing, or how does my existing content fit into these goals that I want? And if it doesn't, that allows you, you've got some evidence to support a decision to say, this stuff isn't important, but this is important because these are the goals that I or we collectively decided are important. And then you do these exact things. You measure and track those goals, and you use the results from that information to show improvement or identify areas that need improvement. So we're teasing around the idea of training. This is one of those training sessions again. We'd go deeper on this very exercise and help you figure out how to do that. Any questions right now? Not seeing anything in chat at the moment. So I think we'll turn it over to Rob. Rob's going to talk about buttons on the site. I'm going to stop sharing and give it over. Relinquish the control. And let Rob drive. Yeah.
Great. Well, I'm going to share my screen here. Switching gears here, I just want to take a minute and a beat to say thanks to Adam for putting together all that information. And what we've been showing you and what I've shown you in past meetings is just the tool. And bringing Adam on has refocused us on the process and the strategy, which are equally important. Actually, I'd argue more important. And so while I will continue to show you the tools, it's good to have Adam here to focus us on the strategy and the process. So with that in mind, we're going to talk about buttons. So I'm logged into a sample WordPress site that I've created. This is what it will look like for a lot of you. On every page, there's a nice little menu bar up here at the top so that you can go in and start editing that page. Another great thing about WordPress is that things are going to look a lot like what they look like on the site when they're published, when you're in the editor. So what you see will be really close to what you get, which will be a new thing for all of us who've been used to working in WCMS. I think I've demonstrated the block editor before, but worth noting again that when we do switch to WordPress, it's going to be a whole different world. I have a lot of options for rich content creation. And we will, as time goes on and people start using it, we will continue to show these things and show you blocks and how to use them strategically on your website. Today, I'm going to focus on buttons. And the reason I'm focusing on buttons is because it allows me an opportunity to show you some of what we're thinking when we think about this tool. So as you know, a button is a really important thing on any page. It's the call to action. It's the thing you want somebody to do. You want them to click that button, whether that's to register for an event, to apply to join an organization, or anything like that. A button is usually a focal point, and it's possible to do a Google search and find any kind of button graphic and toss it on a website. And over the years, we've seen a proliferation of different types of buttons and images representing buttons. But with WordPress, we have the ability to do a couple things. One is to give you more options when you create a button, make it really easy to create a button, and then have that button be consistent, or at least consistent options for you across multiple sites and pages. So what I'm going to show you today is the button component. I don't know if anyone noticed, I just went in and added a button block. And so now I've got this button block and I can click in here. I get a bunch of options. I'm going to add a link because of course the button should go somewhere. I'm just going to have this one go to the home page. And hit return. And now that button goes there. I'm going to add some text here. No, button is action. All right, so I've got my button here, and it's a little bit of a bug, but by default, when you put it in here, it's black to begin with, but that's not the button styles we've configured for you. So if you notice over here on the right, there are 3 button styles, and lo and behold, they coordinate with campus branding colors. Right now we have 3. Most obvious one is a blue one. You've probably seen blue buttons across other pages on the campus websites. It's something that's been consistent for a long time. So if you are just simply got a box here, got a page here, you got one button, it's a call to action. Blue is a good choice for a default. All buttons have a hover effect of some kind. This also works if you were using assistive technology and tabbed to the button. This is the active state as well. So it's really clear when you are active on a button. We also have gold. And that would probably be if you have more than one button and you're trying to draw attention, or one button does something a little bit different than another button. If there's a lot going on a page, you might want to grab more attention with a gold button. And then finally, a third button is red, and that is getting all the attention. If it's really something that's important to do, and you want a user to take action right away, a red button is definitely going to get their attention. These will come pre-configured. So when you're using a UCSC website, you'll have these 3 options anywhere you use a button. I should also remind folks and show you that buttons can have different widths preset, or just the width of the text itself. You can have more than one button. And when you do a different button, you can select another style, just like before. So this is like something that I wanted to show you because it's a really basic example of how we're adding some pre-configurations to the theme and to WordPress. So you'll have options, though, that adhere to some of the branding standards and design standards that we've talked about before. So hopefully, as we continue to roll this out and continue to show you things, we'll be showing you stuff like this where you have options, and those options are well designed and pre-configured, making it really easy for you to do these things.
That's awesome, Rob. Yeah. I mean, the thing that I think about here is that in the current state, you can kind of you have to go to a lot of different places, and buttons, which are a very key component of helping a user figure out what you want them to do on the site. It was hard to do that, and it was hard to be consistent with those. And I think it ties back to that one story of like, what, I went to one website and it looked this way, and then I went to another website and it looked a little this way. And like, am I still in the right place? And am I doing the right thing? This is one of the features of WordPress and what we're trying to help out with in Campus that hopefully can create that efficiency, which is mapped back to that, high level goal on Campus. We're all taxed on time. I should be able to do things a little bit easier with a content management system, and it creates consistency all at the same time. And these are great components of how we think about when we do these things together, we kind of, all boats rise in that way. We all like benefit from these, even if it's just like a one component of it. This is what we're thinking WordPress will do for us in helping us design better, more sustainable, quality, and effective websites.
I'll add too that buttons are the first place, and we have a lot of opportunity to do this in other ways and with more rich block types. We're just getting started. So I would expect, we will add more of these things as we go along. After the service launches, we'll continue to provide pre-configured options for people. Some blocks will have more flexibility than this even, depending on the block. But yeah, it's a great opportunity to create a familiar feel without necessarily limiting to one style or one design only.
Mm-hmm.
I have a question.
Can I ask?
Yeah, go T. Yeah.
So we're seeing, how to kind of plan our website and think about our users and think about the audience. And then we're seeing how to put buttons on a page as a call to action. What are guidelines that we would provide for folks on when you want a call to action button on a page? Is there a general, because I've had the notion of that, if you want a user to kind of traverse your site in a specific way, you want a call to action so that people go to a page and then they know where to go next on their journey, kind of through the site. And so is there, most pages should have some sort of guideline on what's next, or you might be interested in, or see this also, or go here. And then is there too many? Is that or is that a good thing? So I think that's you don't have to answer it now, but it might be fun to just off the top of your head, because I'm not fantastic at this. Other people might have the same question.
I'll try not to answer with another question, but I will. And I'll say, well, what are your goals? What do you want people to do on your website? And that's an individual choice, right? We don't all have the exact same things that we want people to do on our website. We certainly have shared goals that we want to achieve for Campus, but Rob's action here is join today. Maybe somebody's action is apply for the program. Maybe somebody else's action is attend an event. It all depends on what your goal, what you want people to do, which is why I always say, set your goals first. If you know your goals, that's your guiding light that helps you make decisions exactly like this. Rob, you could certainly speak to, can you put too many buttons on a page?
Or
You
too many
can,
buttons on a website, maybe not,
on a website.
If every page has a button, then they might become okay, that's a little bit much. But
yeah, I would say buttons are for one-time actions that you're looking for someone to take, that's have a clear-cut ending. If you're just looking to send somebody off to get more information, but there isn't a clear end to that action, then a button maybe isn't the thing. You're just linking to another page. To your question, Teresa, it's a tough one, but I tend to try to think of each page as having a clear purpose and point. And what is this page? Why does this page exist? What is it doing? Sometimes it is just to convey information and link out to additional things. But if it does have it's an introduction and it's wants you to do something, to start a transaction, join something, register for something, take some kind of action, then a button can make sense for that. I definitely, you wouldn't want to have a button on every page, or A button is usually about the user taking action with a clear result.
Stephanie, I think you had a question. Maybe it was Stephanie, I'm not sure. Okay, just posted in chat. Let's actually field some of the stuff that's come in from chat. Rob, maybe this is you. What hex value should we use for buttons until WordPress? And then they put the hex value in there.
00458C. Now, I do know hex values by heart, but I would recommend going to communications.ucsc.edu. I can't find the exact link. Maybe someone from my team can drop it in chat, but we do have a color palette there. And I recommend usually using the blue, but it depends on what the button is for. But anything from the official palette, the primary colors from the official palette is okay to use for a button.
Tony asked something that I think it's a future state question, but it's great to start collecting these right now. And the gist is will these pages look just as good in dark mode? And maybe it requires a little explainer of what dark mode is first.
Yeah, this is a great topic. I'll try not to get too nerdy here, but there are a number of preferences that anyone using a computer can set at their system level that the web browser respects and tries to honor. One of those is dark mode. So if you have set the entire theme of your display on your computer to dark mode, there are ways for us to know that from in the browser and alter the website colors based on that preference. We know it's coming. We haven't had an opportunity to explore that yet. I'll just say we've been pretty busy getting the basics up to speed here, but it is on our radar. It's something we've talked about. It is something we will have to explore. For the moment, the website will stay the same. The colors will stay the same. But in the future, I could see some kind of altered color palette that respects dark mode. I'll add too that another one of those preferences that a user can set at their system level that we should and try to pay attention to is prefers reduced motion, which means I don't want things moving around on the web pages I go to. So there is now a mechanism for us to know that as web content producers and try to respect that on our web pages. We're also looking at that one. So those are the two that we are paying attention to as we develop this. I can't say anything about dark mode yet. Prefers reduced motion. I know we're sort of looking to WordPress to help us there. And I think WordPress is looking at that as well. Sorry, that was long-winded and nerdy. More to come.
You tried to not be nerdy, it didn't work.
I tried.
I'll take Stephanie's question.
Yeah, go for it, Teresa.
Yeah. So Stephanie had a question about the faculty WordPress site. So we have, just for those of you who don't know, we are using Campus Press for our WordPress services. We have 3 WordPress services. We have one called Slug Sites, and that's where anyone can get a personal website. So you can create a website in WordPress and talk all about your kitty cats. Then there's our faculty WordPress service, which Stephanie, this is what you are using, is sites.ucsc.edu. And that service is for faculty, grad students, and researchers to create their WordPress websites. And then we will very soon have our WordPress service for the campus for official units, departments, divisions, etc. So Stephanie, your question is for the faculty WordPress service. There are 570 themes that they can use and various kinds of plugins and all kinds of, it's a very open environment for faculty to create their sites in exactly the way that they want and with the look and feel. So those sites aren't locked into a specific UCSC official theme because for various reasons. So if you have more questions about that specifically, then we can chat offline, but The faculty WordPress service is different than the campus WordPress service in various ways for various reasons. So different limitations and availability. So
circle back to Rose's question in just a second, but Diana actually had a similar on that path. Will URLs change?
For faculty service websites or for?
And great question, Diana. If you wanted to clarify, I don't want to guess to make sure, but what about if I'm moving into the WordPress service?
If you're moving from Cascade into our WordPress service, or anywhere into our official WordPress service, you can keep your same URL. So if you're history.ucsc.edu, that will be your URL when you launch your site. While you're building your site, different URL. We can chat offline about that. But when we officially schedule the launch of your site, we will give you your same URL that you have now.
College websites too.
Pardon me?
College websites too. I'm just answering.
Oh, I
Diana's
didn't
question.
see all the questions. Yeah. So yes.
Any existing site that's migrating will get the same URL when it's done and ready to launch. It'll just switch to the new site.
Rose's question,
Let's see.
and this gets a little deeper, and we'll do some explaining here because we can unpack this question. When will the website when the website templates are open to everyone, what will be the process to get access? Some institutes and programs are currently on sites.ucsc rather than WCMS. Will those sites be able to get on the official campus templates?
Great multiple questions. So so as the timeline we said earlier, so we're planning on opening up the official WordPress service to the campus in summer sometime. So that's when, and the process to get a site will be you would fill out this SlugHub request form in our ticketing system, fill out the form, give us information, and then we start the process from there to get you signed up for getting started sessions, configure your site, and then hand it off to you. As far as sites that are on sites.ucsc and that want to move into the official, that's a similar process. You still have to request a site in that new environment, and anything in the WordPress campus WordPress service that we're rolling out will have the official templates. We have on the radar, but we don't have it mapped out yet, is if we can get the official templates in the faculty WordPress service. So it's kind of like we got to build one first and get it rolling before we can actually roll it out to other services. So to be continued.
Yeah.
Just for a clarity point, Rob, the templates versus the WordPress theme. Can you talk a little more about that?
Yeah. So when you have a WordPress site, you choose a theme. And a theme is a package of templates that dictate how your site appears. So the templates that we're working on will be built into a UCSC theme, and that will be available on the official WordPress service. I hate to keep getting nerdy, but it's dependent on a particular version of WordPress, and we're waiting for Campus Press to do an update to WordPress, the software, and then we can make the theme available on other installations of the site's network. We have to make sure that some of the things that we're doing in the theme, which are dare I say, cutting edge, are available within the WordPress software. It's right now, if we just drop the theme into the faculty network, it wouldn't be available because the WordPress in there doesn't support it yet. From what we understand, WordPress is going to get updated on the faculty network sometime this summer. And after that, we'll be able to explore making the theme available in there. So I would say the answer is yes, but probably not before fall.
we kind of nicely transitioned into the QA session of today's
And I think
session.
I kicked it off early. I'm sorry with that question.
Without even noting it. So we'll be glad to continue. I'm not seeing anything else in chat. You're also welcome to mic on or camera on if you have another question. Oh, one did just come in. I'm wondering, Brecky notes, I'm wondering how the PBSci effort to migrate department websites dovetails into the campus efforts.
I don't know how to, I don't know exactly where PBSci is in their scheduling of where they're moving sites and when, and how that aligns with our rollout. So we would probably need to have a check-in with PBSci folks to find out that information. I'm not clear yet.
One thing to note, though, is that the PBSci websites are on a separate Campus Press setup. They're on a separate WordPress setup from what we're building, just as a note. So, yeah.
One thing I would, oh, go ahead, Rob, sorry.
I was saying they don't live in the same place as the sites that we're building now.
One thing I would note too is if you have a larger unit like science, I'm guessing maybe PBSci is under that umbrella.
It's the same.
It's the same. Okay, gotcha. We're recommending, like, let's get together with our individual groups and units and departments and schools and colleges to make sure we're all making a coordinated effort. It's not that we would say no, you can't come into the WordPress because you haven't talked to it, but it'll help you get to those goals better. It'll help you get to figure out what you all want to coordinated or do in a coordinated fashion. And that's going to be one of the questions when we do ask you to come on board to the service into WordPress. We're going to say, have you had a conversation with your division, unit, school, college, whatever that is, to talk about your effort and how you want to present itself? Because there might be things to learn before we go into the actual process of building a site that you'll want to know. Shantae says she's heading out. Thank you. Helped with conceptualization. Take care. Thank you for joining us. Aaron asks, will there be support for templating engines? Mustache? I have no idea. I have a mustache, but I don't know what that is.
Rob can geek out on that. I don't know.
The short answer is no, because WordPress has its own template engine. So it's not website owners don't get to that level of code. Not about WordPress, just in general. No, not in WordPress for sure. Yeah.
And I would note here that there certainly will be requests for features or things that people want to do within their WordPress site. And we welcome that feedback because it helps us get it into a queue as to whether or not those things can happen. I think, and feel free to hop in here, Teresa and Rob, when we're talking about WordPress, we're creating an environment that you'll need to design from within. Because when we do things within this consistent fashion, such as we're using similar button styles, and we're using, similar features to build our websites, that's what's going to help us make it easier for people across the campus to build their sites, make consistent designs across sites so we all feel like we're operating as a whole. And it's going to achieve some of those shared goals that we have. So there'll be a note that in designing in WordPress, you're designing from within the structure that's being created. Some things won't be able to happen in there. I'm not sure what mustache is, but it kind of sounded like that might be a trick to do, and we'd have to test out things. And I wouldn't assume that things that would work that are not in the WordPress environment that we have right now can work another way. But we do believe that you will have a lot of control about how to design the components and the pieces that you want in your WordPress site.
And that's kind of a question about like, what if you're not using WordPress, or what if you don't want to use WordPress? And for folks in that boat, like, hang tight. Yes, help is on the way. If you're looking to do web work and are interested in branded or components that respect the brand, that you can drop in and use in other websites or in other templating engines or in other CMSs, hang tight. We will have something for you. Probably after the WordPress service launches, because that is taking up all our time right now. But we've got you in mind. More to come.
Just dropped in the link to provide feedback, just like this, Aaron. We appreciate you noting those things. This is going to be a centralized place where we want to collect feedback from all of you, because we believe transparency is an important part here, and we want to hear from you on the things that you need. And if things aren't making sense, let us know here or reach out to us, and we want to help make better websites here on campus.
Yeah, I'll just say, Aaron, too. Aaron, you can reach out to me directly. I'm curious what you're thinking. Send me a message and we can chat, and we might have something to show you sooner than later.
Nothing else is on the board. Maybe we'll just note that the next web users group is May 25th. So a month from now. We're going to do these on the monthly. You are welcome to use that feedback form if you have suggestions, that's things that you'd like us to talk about, go deeper on a topic. We welcome that. And please do use that form.
There was one question that came in from Parker.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, sorry.
Will there be database integrations, examples, MS Access, PostGRE, SQL, or even Google Sheets? Not an embed, but a data connection. I don't know the answer to that.
Yep.
But again, that's an example of like, let us know what you need and like what, and then we could work with you to see and figure it out. Because we have some things where we just like, we don't know yet. We don't have it all figured out yet.
One of the training sessions, and this won't get directly to Parker's question because it gets technical, is how do we think about what content goes where on our websites? And when we do place content on our site, is it achieving the goals that we want to meet? And if we think about some of the goals that people came up with, easy to use, quick, I can zip around and I can get to the thing that I need to. That also, again, that helps us serve as a filter as to what would be a strategy as to how we're going to display other document types, tables, things, PDFs, all these other components in the way that we need to use them to display information that we do have. And what are the important things that we do need to display? Yeah, there's legitimate needs for people to display, tabular information or other things on their website. But maybe there's other ways to think about the approach that we're using and making sure we're best serving people who are using our websites in ways that they can find and make use of that content. That doesn't directly address your question, Peter, but I don't know, Rob, if you wanted to talk about, I think it's kind of an integration question, right?
Yeah, I think to reiterate what Teresa said, specifically what you're thinking can help us. We're in a bigger world now, so it was something I did want to mention earlier. With Cascade and WCMS, it's a proprietary software, and so we were always limited in the size of the community by mostly institutions that were paying for it. With WordPress, the universe is about to expand quite a bit. Faster than the real universe expands. Which is we're in a big ecosystem now. There are a lot of plugins available for WordPress. For the purposes of keeping things simple and straightforward to start with, we're being careful about what is available right out of the gate. But as needs arise, and as particular needs and custom integrations come about, we may help find plugins that can do some kinds of integrations. We've already built one plugin that will be doing an integration with the campus directory and scheduling and stuff. I'm sorry, class schedule. So those kinds of things are not out of the realm of possibility. It'll just be, you know, as we determine the need, we can evaluate plugins or see what needs to be added to WordPress to add more functionality. So that's my fancy way of saying we'll figure it out, you know, but it depends on the need and the use case.
Another question came in that's kind of connected to design systems and libraries about Ryan says, we're also interested in that design library kind of resource at the library. They have a need to stay in Drupal. Yep, that's going to be a legitimate need for some folks. Would be happy to design in an alignment with the rest of campus. What does that mean to you, Rob?
Oh man, this is my favorite questions.
Yeah.
Again, at the fear of getting too nerdy. Yes, we're working on up until just a couple of years ago, a design system or a component library was like, here's a style sheet or a CSS that has all of our stuff built into it, how we expect things to look. The web dev world has shifted a little bit in the last couple of years to providing like functional components, much like we see with blocks in WordPress, very much the same thing. However, they work outside of WordPress. They're encapsulated, they work by themselves. We have started building a library of those kinds of things based on some of the use cases that we already have. For example, like the ribbon across the top of the homepage that provides timely messages for the entire campus. You can think of that as like an encapsulation of design and functionality and code that's we want to work anywhere, right? I'd want to give you the tool that says, hey, drop this line of code on your website and you will get the latest campus message at the top of your page. So we're working on a library for that. It's a little early to show anything. It's kind of in prototype beta stage right now with just a few components built in. But when we're past the launch phase of WordPress and we've stabilized the theme and we have a workflow for continuing to improve on that service, me and my team will be able to turn our attention towards this component library and continue to develop it, and then communicate with you folks who are not doing WordPress, but your websites are obviously key websites on campus, and we want you to have the same tools as everyone else. I could talk about it for hours.
Okay, I think Rob or Teresa, did you have anything else to add in for today?
No, I think that was a very awesome agenda. Thank you. I would echo, you know, what Rob said. Adam, great information, great training, great interactive exercises. Love it.
Yep. We are thinking of doing a follow-up email, just a thank you, which will have a short survey in it that we would love your responses in, because we want to learn more. So look out for that, I think, in the near future. And I guess if there's nothing else, we'll just say thank you. And we appreciate you being here today.
And the next web users group, I think, is like May 27th, 25th, last week of May. So
yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you, everybody, for being here.
Thank you, everyone.